faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, I'll be interpreting for you the book Thinking in Bets. This book teaches how to make wise decisions when information is limited. People often say choices matter more than effort. Everyone hopes to make good decisions at life's crossroads, but the uncertain real world often forces us to decide with incomplete information. Say you find a house you like and want to buy low, but you can't predict future price trends. Or after 3 years at a job, suddenly getting a tempting offer from a big company. Should you jump ship? No matter how thoroughly you research or plan, you can't guarantee success at the new company. You'll realize decision-making is like gambling. Even with perfect choices, you might still lose. Just like in cards, because you don't know your next card or what opponents hold. To make good decisions here, you must learn to think in bets. Thinking in bets means making probability-based decisions, like poker players do. Author Annie Duke holds a U.S. PhD in cognitive psychology, but she's also a world-class poker pro, the only woman to win both the World Series of Poker and NBC National Heads-Up Poker Championship. During her 20-year poker career, she's won over $4 million in prizes. Duke believes ordinary people can adopt professional poker players' decision methods. She combined psychology with elite poker strategies to develop a betting-based decision framework. Duke now advises Fortune 500 executives using this method. This book details Duke's decision-making approach. Through vivid case studies, she challenges outcome-focused decision-making traditions, establishing new criteria for what truly defines good decisions and how to achieve them. I'll explore this book through 3 key aspects. First, what constitutes a good decision? Second, what prevents us from making good decisions? Third, how can we improve decision-making skills? Let's begin with the first aspect, defining good decisions. People often judge whether a decision was good based on its outcome, but that's actually incorrect. For example, imagine this scenario. During the final penalty shootout of a World Cup match, Team A will win if they score this last kick. Who should take it? That becomes a crucial decision. Most people thought the team's famous star striker should take it, but the coach chose player B instead. Unfortunately, player B missed the penalty. You can imagine the next day, media and fans everywhere criticized the coach's decision. Few acknowledged that the coach's judgment might have been reasonable. Because historical stats showed player B had a higher penalty success rate than the star striker, meaning probabilistically, he was more likely to succeed. Now imagine if Team A had won. Suddenly everyone would praise the coach's choice as brilliant. Many fall into this outcome-focused mindset when judging decisions. Good outcome equals success. Bad outcome equals failure. Say you choose the subway to avoid traffic while rushing to catch a flight. If the subway's packed and you can't board, you'd think it was a terrible decision, right? But if it's empty with seats and you arrive early and relaxed, suddenly it feels like the perfect choice. But the author argues this evaluation method is flawed. Our uncertain world means we can't possibly know everything. Like in poker, you can't see opponents' cards. Sometimes luck alone decides outcomes. For instance, someone jaywalks but crosses safely. Another follows traffic rules but gets hit at a crosswalk. Since perfect information and controlling luck are impossible, even top poker players can't predict a hand's outcome. They can only assess probabilities using available information and past experience. The more accurate your judgment, the better your winning odds. To improve judgment accuracy, focus on the decision process, not fixating on outcomes. There are 2 main reasons.
First, outcome-focused thinking leads to hindsight bias. We always feel we should have known inevitable results. Like when a book becomes a bestseller, people say, "I knew it would sell well."
If it flops, they'll say, "I knew it wouldn't sell." But a book's success depends on uncontrollable factors, market conditions, luck, etc. Focus on the decision process. Second reason, only by examining the process can we properly review, identify strengths and weaknesses, and improve decision-making. Say you switch jobs for career growth, but the new company underperforms. Outcome focus makes you feel like a total failure. You learn nothing beyond frustration. But process focus lets you reflect. Did I research enough? Did I miss critical information? This shows how to improve your next career move. While not guaranteeing success, it raises future decision quality probability. All right, now we know decision quality depends on process. Let's discuss the second aspect. What hinders good decisions? Beliefs always influence choices. We choose partners believing they'll be good companions. We pick low-fat foods believing they're healthier. The more accurately our beliefs reflect reality, the better we learn from experience, making decisions sharper. But cognitive traps distort beliefs, stunting decision growth. The book outlines 3 cognitive flaws. First, mistaking correlation for causation, like smoking causes lung cancer. Many interpret this as smoking directly causing cancer. But smoking and lung cancer are correlated, not causally linked. Lung cancer has multiple causes: genetics, diet, environment, etc. So why do people interpret correlations as causation? Because causal relationships provide certainty. Evolutionarily speaking, our brains naturally crave certainty and order. We prefer imagining an orderly world where outcomes are predictable. That makes us feel secure. But this instinct for causality often blinds us to other factors, leading to flawed conclusions. Without effective feedback from decisions, our decision-making skills stagnate. The second cognitive trap is self-serving bias, taking credit for successes but blaming failures on luck. Stanford psychologist Robert McCown found that in 75% of traffic accidents, drivers blamed others. In 2 car accidents, 91% blamed the other driver. Even in single-car crashes, 37% faulted external factors, like blaming oddly placed utility poles or poorly parked bikes. Self-serving bias is everywhere. If your child excels, it's your achievement. If they struggle, it's the child's fault or bad teaching. Projects succeed because of you but fail due to the team. This bias blocks experiential learning. Without learning from failure, we can't improve decisions. Like a defense attorney crediting wins to brilliant strategy but blaming losses on bad luck. This prevents understanding what actually works, stunting skill growth, and hindering good decisions. The third cognitive trap, motivated reasoning. Motivated reasoning describes how, once beliefs form, they resist change. We process new information through existing beliefs, reinforcing them. Meaning, once you believe something, it's hard to change. Simple example, when we like someone, we see them as perfect, flawless. Even if others point out their flaws, you'll ignore them or make excuses. Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman explains, we fall for motivated reasoning because we crave positive self-image and life narratives. When new information challenges our beliefs, it creates discomfort, so we ignore or discredit contradictory evidence. This blocks new knowledge and prevents learning from experience. Our beliefs drift further from reality, making good decisions impossible. But overcoming these cognitive traps is incredibly difficult because their roots lie in our brain's structure. Psychologist Gary Marcus identifies 2 systems: the reflexive system, fast, automatic, and the deliberative system, slow, analytical, that relies on the limited prefrontal cortex. Most daily decisions come from the reflexive system, not deliberate thinking, like breathing or heartbeat, all automatic. Both systems are essential for human survival. We need reflexes for instant danger response and handling routine decisions. But the speed comes at the cost of frequent errors. Since our brain won't change overnight, we can't fully eliminate cognitive traps. To make better decisions, we must work within these limits, maximizing success probability. So how do we do this? That brings us to our third aspect, how to make good decisions.
The core solution? Cultivate betting thinking, treating decisions as probabilistic bets rather than absolutes.
Viewing outcomes not just as good or bad, but through a probabilistic lens, makes acceptance easier. You'll embrace this uncertain world, accept differing perspectives, reduce cognitive biases, and refine beliefs toward greater objectivity. So, how do we cultivate this betting mindset? Drawing from the book, here are three methods. First, master reviewing experiences to transform thought patterns. Decision-making prowess stems largely from experience. But experience isn't just what happens, it's how we analyze, review, and extract lessons, requiring us to distinguish skill from luck. If your decision decisively shaped the outcome, that's skill. If uncontrollable factors, others' actions, weather, genetics, swayed results, that's luck. Yet when judging luck versus skill, cognitive traps distort our view. Like self-serving bias, which prompts faulty attributions to protect our ego. To overcome biases and truly learn, we must shift thinking patterns toward radical self-objectivity. The author suggests replacing feel-good thoughts as a mindset shift strategy. What are feel-good thoughts? Like crediting poker wins to skill but blaming losses on bad luck? Classic feel-good thinking. Take smoking causes lung cancer. Many interpret this as direct causation. But smoking and lung cancer are correlated, not causally linked. Lung cancer has multiple causes: genetics, diet, environment, etc. So why do people prefer interpreting correlations as causation? Because causal relationships offer certainty. Evolutionarily, our brains crave certainty and order. We imagine an orderly world where predictable outcomes make us feel safe, but this causality instinct blinds us to other factors, yielding flawed conclusions. Without effective feedback from decisions, our decision-making skills stagnate. The second cognitive trap is self-serving bias, essentially taking credit for good outcomes and blaming bad ones on luck. Stanford social psychologist Robert McCown conducted a study finding that in 75% of traffic accident records, drivers blamed others for the mistake. If an accident involved two cars, 91% of drivers thought it was the other's fault. Even with just one car involved, 37% shifted blame to external factors, like blaming a strangely placed utility pole or how someone parked their bike. Self-serving bias is everywhere. If your child excels, it's your achievement. If they struggle, it's the child's fault or bad teaching. Projects succeed because of you, but fail due to the team. Self-serving bias blocks learning from experience. If we can't learn from failures, we can't improve our decisions. Like a defense attorney who credits wins to brilliant strategy, but blames losses on bad luck. This way, they can't know if their strategy actually works, can't improve their skills, and it hinders good decision-making. The third cognitive trap is motivated reasoning. Motivated reasoning is a human information processing pattern where once a belief forms in the brain, it's hard to change because how we process new information is influenced by existing beliefs, constantly reinforcing them. Meaning, once you believe something, it's tough to alter. A simple example, when we like someone, we think they're perfect and flawless. Even if others mention their flaws, you'll turn a blind eye or make excuses to justify them. Renowned psychologist Daniel Kahneman analyzed that we're affected by motivated reasoning because we want positive self-esteem and an optimistic life narrative. And once new information challenges our past beliefs, we feel very uncomfortable. Therefore, we ignore or discredit the new information. This prevents absorbing new knowledge or gaining useful feedback from past experiences. Instead, our beliefs drift further from reality, making good decisions increasingly impossible. But overcoming these cognitive traps is incredibly difficult because their roots lie deep in our brain's structure. Psychologist Gary Marcus shows the brain has two systems: the reflexive system, fast and automatic, and the deliberative system, slow and analytical, that relies on the limited prefrontal cortex, which saturates easily. Hence, most daily decisions come from reflexes, not deliberate thinking, like breathing or heartbeat, all automatic. Both systems are essential for human development. We need reflexes for instant danger response and handling routine decisions, but this speed comes at the cost of frequent errors. Since our brain won't change quickly, we can't fully avoid cognitive traps. To make better decisions, we must work within cognitive limits, maximizing success probability. So, how do we achieve this? That leads to our third aspect: how to make good decisions. The core solution: cultivate betting thinking, treating decisions as probabilistic bets rather than absolutes. Viewing outcomes through probability, not just good or bad, makes acceptance easier. Embracing uncertainty helps accept differing viewpoints, reducing biases and refining beliefs toward objectivity. So, how do we develop this betting mindset? From the book, here are 3 methods. First, learn to review experiences and transform thought patterns. A person's decision making ability largely comes from their experience. Experience isn't just about what you've been through. More importantly, it's how you analyze and review those experiences to figure out what's worth learning. This means we got to learn to separate luck from skill. Or, uh, uh, if our decision plays a decisive role in how things turn out, that's about skill. But if factors we can't control, like other people's actions, weather, or genetics, affect the outcome, that's about luck. However, when judging whether luck or skill was at play, we get tripped up by cognitive traps. For example, self-serving bias makes us attribute wrongly just to feel good about ourselves. To overcome these biases and truly learn from experience, we need to shift our thinking patterns and see ourselves more objectively. The author suggests a way to change thinking. Replacing feel-good thoughts. What are feel-good thoughts? Like in poker, thinking you won because of your skill but lost due to bad luck. That's a feel-good thought. But this keeps players from objectively analyzing wins and losses, stunting their growth. So we should swap in thoughts that make us feel good while also helping us level up.
For instance, after a loss, get a pro to nitpick your mistakes and treat finding an error as a reward.
This makes you feel good while letting you learn and improve. Another example: humans naturally compare themselves to others for a superiority boost, so we take credit for wins and blame others for losses. Cue self-serving bias. That's not. To change this mindset, don't force yourself to stop comparing. Just replace those feel-good thoughts. Like shifting what you compare, say, who admits mistakes more easily or has a more open mindset. Cultivating a betting mindset. The second method is leveraging a team. When we start building a betting mindset, we realize some questions are tough to answer solo, like whether my belief is spot on or if I've missed info that could skew my judgment. So we need to learn from others. That's the value of a group. And in a high-quality group, diverse perspectives fill our information gaps, reducing uncertainty and judgments. It also helps us overcome cognitive biases and see ourselves more objectively. This decision-making group could be friends, family, or coworkers. No need for big numbers. Even 3 people can help counter biases and get closer to truth. So, what makes an effective decision-making team? The author argues that high-performing teams must foster exploratory thinking to pursue truth. Exploratory thinking was developed by 2 leading experts in group interaction science. Philip Tetlock and Jennifer Lerner proposed that team thinking styles fall into 2 types: confirmatory and exploratory. Confirmatory thinking means when someone voices an opinion, others just validate it. Like a sports team blaming a loss on bad luck. Captain states it, others echo. This amplifies bias and blocks better insights. Exploratory thinking does the opposite, encouraging open, objective discussion and dissenting views. We rarely use exploratory thinking in interactions. We default to agreement. So without clear guidance, groups get hijacked by confirmatory thinking. Strong teams establish clear norms, prioritizing truth-seeking and open-mindedness. These norms don't need paperwork. Shared understanding among members works. Specifically, they should include 2 elements. First, encourage diverse viewpoints and reward truth-tellers. To see the world objectively, teams must provide perspective diversity. So, the team should create a supportive environment for this diversity. like a company debating post-merger integration strategies. So we should consider opinions from those who initially opposed the merger, because they might reveal why the sales departments can't align. Whether adopted or not, their perspectives help make wiser decisions. Teams should reward those who voice dissenting views and speak truthfully. Rewards needn't be monetary. Social recognition suffices, because everyone craves validation, especially from respected individuals. Thus, successful teams use social recognition to motivate truth-seeking, objective self-analysis, and improvement.
In the author's poker group, both experts and newcomers focus on identifying their flaws.
When the author complained about bad luck after losses, nobody indulged him. But when he analyzed decisions and proposed better strategies, praise reinforced his exploratory thinking and growth. The second element of good norms, accountability. Accountability means taking responsibility for actions or beliefs affecting others. Like losing money at poker, that's accountability for your convictions. In teams, everyone owns their responsibilities. Suggesters must stand by their words. Decision makers weigh suggestions and own the outcomes. Accountability breeds vigilance in choices. It fosters openness to conflicting evidence, reducing biases for better decisions. Beyond teams, the third betting mindset method, mental time travel, viewing decisions through wider lenses. Science fiction often shows time travel where protagonists gain knowledge from past or future. In decisions, we can mentally summon past or future selves as partners. That's mental time travel method. Business journalist Susie Welch created a decision tool called the 10-10-10 method. This tool involves imagining yourself traveling to the future. When making a decision, ask yourself, what outcomes will appear in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years? Similarly, we can reflect from the past's perspective. How would I feel now if I'd made this decision 10 minutes, 10 months, or 10 years ago? Mental time travel has two benefits. First, it counters temporal discounting. Temporal discounting means satisfying current desires at the expense of the future. For example, we know chronic sleep deprivation harms health, yet still scroll phones late into the night. We know we should save for retirement, yet spend lavishly. Human nature favors consuming available resources now rather than saving for later. Mental time travel connects us with our future selves, reminding us to avoid short-sightedness. Stanford researchers split subjects into two groups using immersive VR. One saw current selves, the other elderly versions. Each received $1,000 to allocate across accounts, like spending, retirement, etc. Those who saw current selves saved $73.90 for retirement. Those who saw elderly selves saved $178.10. Thus, incorporating your future self into decisions yields wiser choices. Second benefit, it suppresses negative emotions, engages deliberative thinking, and enables rational responses. Decision quality suffers under emotion. Negative feelings trigger the limbic system, handing control to the reflexive system. As discussed, the reflexive system processes automatically, leading to irrational decisions. For instance, some young professionals impulsively quit after one clash with colleagues or criticism from a boss. This stems from overestimating a single event's life impact. In that moment, emotions catastrophize the situation, making us feel utterly devastated. Using mental time travel activates our prefrontal cortex circuits, stopping us from exaggerating current situations. This way, when making decisions, we reduce negative emotions and adopt a long-term perspective. Think about it. However terrible something seems now, if it happened a year ago, you probably wouldn't see it as life-shattering. So, how do we apply mental time travel? The author suggests 3 techniques. First, when upset, seek solitude, mentally remove yourself from the situation, or use the 10-10-10 method. Ask yourself, will this bother me in 10 years? In group settings, ask peers, what long-term impacts might this have? Second method, pre-commitment, restricting yourself in advance to avoid irrational future decisions. Classic example, taking transit instead of driving when meeting friends at a bar. This pre-commitment against drunk driving creates barriers, though not foolproof. Sure, you could borrow a friend's car drunk, but it's way more hassle than using your own. Third method, backcasting, working backward from future goals to plan.
Say a company aims to grow market share from 5% to 10% in 3 years.
Backcasting means assuming success and identifying what made it happen. Key events, favorable conditions. Similarly, envisioning pessimistic futures aids decision making. If that company failed to grow share, backcasting helps identify failures, like product delays, talent loss, or poor economic conditions. This pre-mortem analysis prevents bad outcomes and boosts success odds. That pretty much wraps up the introduction to thinking in bets. Life is a long game. Even top performers can make flawed decisions. Oh, we shouldn't obsess over any single failure. To become savvy decision makers, we've got to embrace the world's unpredictability and chaos. Treat every decision like a bet and keep refining the process. No one can guarantee perfection, but hey, we can always outdo our past selves. All right, that's our take on thinking in bets. Reading notes are below the audio. Catch you next time.